So, good morning, guys. Good morning, teachers. I'm Stefania Pavone for Le Mondo Diplomatique Manifestos Insert, and I'm here today to present you a book of a new courage and brave author named Daniele Pace, here close to me. Daniele Pace is an independent researcher who is living in London, and he wrote a book to say the truth on those matters of which today you listen on TV news and newspaper talk so much. Unfortunately, today your generation, you are student in a catering institute who will be built for the labor market. Then after the school certificate, you will look for a job and few of you will attend to the university. Today you have to compare with a job, how it will be, occasionally stable with the salary, how much you will have enough or not. And the economic crisis that unfortunately today is shocking our nation and the Western countries in a painful way, it will place to your generation and the following ones this problem. Today we are here to tell you some truth that don't come from the TV and newspaper, which unfortunately they serve other causes, and not that one on the truth for many reasons, to tell you the reality about some notions, and two essential notions, that one on the debt and that one on the money. Essentially, what the debt is. For who follow the actual economic debate, yesterday the European Commission says that Italy cannot improve if does not bring down the debt. But this debt which is choking us and the families, this debt which is causing the entrepreneurs suicides because does not have credit from the bank, this debt which is choking the economy, where does this debt come from? What is generating it? Thus, Daniele gives an answer which is out of the dictates of orthodox economy, bulwark of the liberal or the Marxist one, and essentially he says that it's a kind of deception. There is someone who decided to lend you a currency and on this loan create a deception. A pen stroke which says, I give you some money and this generate the debt. This is called process of money creation out of nothing. And this process from this simple action, from the simple gesture, is generate the debt. So it's a kind of escalation, a vicious circle from which we cannot sort out. So this is why Western cannot stop this crisis. So why no politicians cannot give answer. So why everybody says, talk, communicate about, but we have no results. Exactly because nobody faced the basic mechanisms of the debt which create the escalation that it is drawing the labor and the same basis of the social living. Another subject faced by Daniele courageously with very new economics and fundamental concepts is that one on the currency. We are living in a society where money is the fundamental mean existing, which give a huge power. Who will not be Bill Gates? Who will not have a designer's suite or a Mercedes or a Porsche and so on? We are all pervaded by this power and we feel it strongly. When we see someone who has money, success, we are bewitched in some way, enmeshed for some matter. And what economy says, it's to run all long day to make much money as we can, because this is basically the dogma proposed. But what money is, why it's so powerful, why marks so heavily our life? Daniele give an answer starting from the analysis of the legal concept of the money done by the professor Giacinto Auriti, who was a teacher in jurisprudence at the Teramo University. He says essentially that money has an induced value. The value we give to money, however, does not come from the economy. It's not the result of an economic law, but essentially it's a psychological element. The value comes from the human mind as a provision on the use of money, materialized on a symbol for the exchange and the measurement of goods. So, the value that we give is the value appointed by our mind, so it's more involved in the psychology, as such as Daniele used the archetype concept, which is a concept for who doesn't know it, in the Jungian psychology, which belong to psych society, does not belong to what simply are historical laws of the political economy. The material symbol of which is built the money represents this value because the human mind need of a material support to display and pass this value among the people in a way to become a social convention recognized. In this point, Auriti broke the tradition on the classic economic thought. If money is a creation by the human mind and just need a material symbol, if the money is a value invented by our mind, so why cannot be directly mine? Here born the concept of popular money. If the money is a psychological creation, thus it cannot belong privately to the bank. It cannot belong privately to a bank, but must belong to everybody. And this is a concept which arises the consideration. From here come the Auritian concept proposed by Daniele in the popular ownership of money. I terminated my presentation and now I give space to Daniele in pointing out that thus concept can you seem strange, difficult, quixotic, as if we are fighting the windmills. But I ask you to think on those concepts because the crisis will strike strongly your generation and other following generations. And if you don't have the critical sense, you don't understand what those concepts are. You don't understand what dominates your life. You don't understand especially the power of money, and you don't use the creativity to change the situation. So, yes, they will cheat you. Thanks, space to Daniele.
Thanks to Stefania, and we add if the money is a product of the money, why they lend us. In fact, we will see just that. As you will see a little from the Stefania's introduction, we will not talk in economics with boring diagrams and etc., but we will address a specific topic that does not concern the pure economic matters and that is not studied in the Faculty of Economics because generally it is not. But we address the issue of money and debt through a different point of view, which is the creation of money. Now I introduce myself briefly. I'm a self-taught independent researcher and by accident I did the job that probably many of you are going to do later in the future. So I did the bartender in luxury hotel, etc. Once, when I started 20 years ago, I earned 2.5 million lire for 7 hours per day. Now, when I stopped time ago, my last salary was £6.25 per hour, so as €6 circa. But I was working 15 hours per day, even 5 days consecutive per week. How is it that? So in just 20 years, there has been this drastic reduction of salary and this is incredible increase in working hours. Economists have explained so many things on TV, but none of them has been able to foresee this crisis and none of them has been able to provide for those things. Then maybe there is something wrong in what they say. So we see a moment to have the picture of the situation by taking the problem from another aspect. In this research that I do for many years, now I have discovered many things simply by checking those that are official documents. I have not invented anything, and those are documents that you can easily find on the internet. And above all, just focused research on what were the theories of Professor Auriti and also about what is the system of creation, of money creation. Why is that? Your life will be marked by money. You, as it was in my case when I was in your place and how it was for Stefania, are here to learn a job that will allow you to earn money. But nobody tell you where does the money really come from? What is the first original source of money? Where did it come from? So there is a tree or something else. Do you know that? Uh, do do not you know? So, but just go and check out how the mechanism that are not clear state on television and in the newspaper. Now, time ago, was performing in London some conference. They had the title "What is the money and what is the debt?" Because you, like us yet, you will be tied to this debt that Italy, but not only Italy, that France has, that Spain has, that all nations have it, to which we will be bound for a long time, and we will have cut more and more service. We'll have cut more and more social duty, social securities, and etc. etc. So, what is the debt? So many journalists have explained to us that the politicians have spent a bit close me bad. Someone stole, but this debt is in all nations. How it is possible? All were corrupt and misguided. No, actually, it is not. So, then the other question was what the money is. Because if he was to ask what the money is, anyone know the answer. So look, too many graduates in economy cannot answer because this is an issue that is not addressed in the faculty of economics. So now I give you the answer because it is very simple, and it is the central theme. Money and debt are exactly the same thing. For a very simple reason, because today, from the historic date of the Bank of England founding at the end of the 16th century, in short, since few centuries ago, the money is created through a debt by the banking system. That is, only the banks can create money. In fact, what the government do, they issue debt and finance themselves. They do not create money, but they monetize that. That is, they create piece of paper that are their debt, and they give it to the banks to lend the money from. The banks, the banking system as a whole, is the only one who can create money and how to create it. It creates out nothing. The money is no more gold as the official date, 15 August 1971. So then we'll see how. But it's basically a piece of paper, a note which costs 30 cents, the typographical cost. And now the 97% of money in the world is a digital number on a computer that doesn't no cost anything. It has no cost of creation, but the bank is the only one that can create money. And how do they create it? It creates out nothing, in fact, and it only lends it to the states, it's lent to the companies, it's lent to the citizen when they ask for a loan, when they are applying for funding. A famous poet spit through to say that a state cannot pursue its aim because there is no money. It's like saying that an engineer cannot build roads because there are no kilometers. What does this mean? If we take what is the definition of money for the economy, classical economics tell us that money is the unit of measurement, the medium of exchange, and a store of value. Leaving aside the latter, that maybe we will see later, we start from the unit of measure. But a unit of measurement may be a debt. I don't know, can you be indebted for liters or kilos? I will not. And money is the unit of measurement for goods, measures the value of good. And it's medium of exchange. That is, exchange them because we recognize that having a value in the exchange. And the sense of the extra pounds phrase is just that how it is possible that a unit of measure can be untraceable. It's missing. Then we see a second thing, what the money is. We begin to see how the money is created today. Once we had to bring the bank's balance sheet, some slides to show, to see the different items for you to understand how it is working. Today we have more than official documents found on the internet, and we are told that the money is just created out of nothing. I repeat, out of nothing by banks, and only loaned to the public. Martin Wolf, chief editor of the Financial Times, which will be the most important financial newspaper in the world, and a former member of the Independent Committee on Banking of the United Kingdom, in an article on 9 November 2010, available on internet, put through the essence of the contemporary monetary system is the creation of money out of nothing. By private banks, often foolish lending. So, the creation of money out of nothing through loans. Paul Tucker, Deputy Governor of the Bank of England. Banks create loans by simply increasing the borrowing customers' current account. That is, banks make loans by creating money with a click on a computer or a piece of paper. From the official bulletin of the Bank of England, the banking sector plays such an important role in the creation of money. Change in the terms for deposit will affect the demand for money, while change in the terms for loans will affect the amount of bank lending and hence money supply. That is, they create it, and when they create it, this is increase the quantity of money. In fact, if you go to the Swiss Central Bank's website, at the page how banks increase the supply of money, it's a bit long, but I read because it is written in a really simple way. They say, bank collects money from savers and lends it to the borrowers. That is what we think as a function of bank deposit. So I deposit, someone come along and they give him some of my money for a loan for an house, but it's not. Go on. Through this intermediary role, the banks create new money. Banks are therefore money creators. A simple example will show how this works. Let us assume that a saver paid 20,000 francs in notes into his account with the bank. The amount of money in the economy does not change as a result of this deposit. However, the notes are no longer in circulation, but in the bank's strong room, the saver account has been credited with 20,000 francs. Letting the money lie idle in the strong room will not earn the bank anything. So why not lend someone the money in return for being paid interest? A businessman needs money for a computer equipment, etc. Out of the 20,000 francs that the saver has paid in, the bank lends the businessman 16,000 francs and credits his account with this amount. As the money supply changed as a result of this transaction, the saver still has 20,000 francs on his account. The businessman, as a borrower, now has 16,000 francs. If the businessman now uses the 16,000 francs to buy an etc., and so money creation goes on. This means that now money is created out of nothing by an accounting artifice, an international regulation with a system which is called the money multiplier or fractionary reserve. I had a conference in Morcone. Was invited the director of a Luxembourg. We got 4 or 5 branches, I don't remember, and he spoke widely on this multiplier by saying, we are a small bank, we do a multiplication of 5 times. That is, they multiply 5 times the money that they had simply by writing in the bank account of the application of the loan. So what happens? The money is created when someone goes to apply for a loan. The bank does not have to do anything, pretty much have to push buttons on a computer, and when you sign the loan or a financial application, that is your conviction, but it's also the time which the bank can create money out of nothing. Then we say that it is already something a bit strange. Is it? If you are creating money out of nothing, what is happening? The police arrive, knock on the door, and arrest you. It works a bit like this. Then, what the system has still wrong? The request for an interest. When you go to apply for a 10,000 euro loan, in which they will ask you for a 10% interest, it means that you will have paid back 11,000. But we have said that the bank creates a loan, does not create the interest. So what does that mean? That 1,000 euro more that you will have to return do not exist. They create 10,000, but they're asking 11,000 back. This discourse of interest has a powerful impact both on individuals and on society. Why is that? Because first, those 1,000 euros that are missing need to be taken from the money already in circulation, which will decrease, and then we will be forced to seek new loans just to pay the interest. Also force the economy to grow exponentially, because we always need to chase at that. So we must continue to pursue this debt, to borrow more debt, and we have plus interest increase, and we have to work more. In England now, I'll tell you, and this will be an experience that you will do surely, because for the Catering Institute students, London is a must. When you come to London, let's hear that, but I'll tell you, 15 hours a day, 60 hours per week, £6.25 per hour. Why? Because companies, if you see the market as a single system, they are all forced to grow more and more. So the erosion of wage is now the only thing that allows the companies to make profits. This is because now the industrial markets in Europe and the United States are saturated. There are not so many new products to launch, etc. So the erosion is on wages and on workings. And then there is also erosion of land to produce more, because it also means consuming even more territory. So this is the other effect, dramatic, that this system has. Now this system seems the only feasible, but in reality it is not so. As he said once, the governor of the British Central Bank, the Bank of England, this is not the only system, but it is certainly the most erroneous and more damaging for us, not for those in power to create money, which is then oligarchy that has replaced the old monarchies, the European monarchies. So the system stands about 3.5 centuries ago, even if it is officially started before. Who controls the issuance of money, controls the address of the economy, also controls what will be your outlook on life. In a famous phrase of President Jackson, the third president of the United States, he argued that the bankers, with cycles of inflation and deflation, will make sure to take control of what the fathers have built. What does this mean? We have continuous cycles in the economy. What is happening now has already happened with the Great Depression. It happened before in the crisis on 1906. It happened in the 1866. Are continuous cycles, because since I am a banking system, the only monopolist of money, I decide how much money is in the system, and depending on how much money there is in the system, we have various possibilities to produce or not produce. And then, strangely, there are these cycles where we have strong monetary expansion, means that the banker are starting to create a lot of money or even to lend all the bonds as they did the last time in this crisis with the housing market. So they have granted loans to all. Then at some point there is a problem, and they say, we can no longer extend credit. Weird, because they create it out of nothing. So then what happened? They interrupt the creation money, then stop the provision of credit. We, in the meantime, since all the money comes from a loan, we continue to return, and thus the money supply, or all the money in circulation, decreases. Here is that the lower wage, decrease state resources, actually they reduce the oxygen in the economy. The economy is in crisis because the banks do not create more that money out of nothing. Now this is a speech about how the banking system actually works. I'm telling you the 1% what there is to know. Clearly, you should go there to check the financial statements, the Bank of England's report that I mentioned, but there is also other documents by the Federal Reserve, as well as there are also other documents by the International Monetary Fund to check. But we are going to see another aspect of this point, because we said that money is created of nothing. Then once the money was gold, you had an intrinsic value, a material in your hands. You had a piece of gold. Since the 1971, the money is not much gold. The bill was before the receipt of the gold deposited in the bank. In fact, it was written on the old lira, payable to the bearer. That is, the bank was forced to give quotes of gold equivalent to what was written on that note. On the pounds is still being written. But since 1971 has been abolished any conversion by the United States, which is the dominant power of the century, and then they had winning the Second World War, took the monopoly of those where the international monetary rules, namely the Bretton Woods Agreement that were called most often on television lately, predicted that only the dollar was convertible into gold and all other currencies into dollars. So a state wants to get the gold from the US Treasury to go and say, look, I have my own money, I convert it in your dollars and you give me my gold. To a point, the United States are wary of having printed 10 times as much gold they had in reality, and President Nixon decided to stop this conversion. So if we no longer have a material, an intrinsic value, but a printed piece of paper that costs 30 cents, what give value to that piece of paper? Before it was gold, now the paper cannot be, because of they can always cost 30 cents to manufacture it. Paper and ink, and we have a point that 97% of money today is created on the computer with a digital issue at no cost, have no intrinsic value. So what gives value to that piece of paper and that number into a computer? Clearly, the bankers had to give an answer to a few brave journalists, and the response was trust. So before, we lived in a situation of gold standard where the note was convertible into gold, and then the gold was money. But today we live in a system called fiat money, fiat system, in which the value of money is based on trust. So it is true that fiat is a Latin word which means be done, that is, be made the money. This can be found in an official document of the Bank of Italy, which I have attached to the essay, in which the governor Draghi says, look, today the fiat money is based on the trust that those who receive from you that will offset the bill for the value, for that value. So this is a very incomplete answer. First of all, it makes us understand one thing. Trust depends on what? The trust in case depends on the production of a nation. and then by the citizen. But this is not a material subject, and this is not even a trusty matter. The currency and its value depends of something else. So here comes Professor Auriti and his 35 years of studies. Giacinto Auriti was a professor of law, not an economist. Why is that? Because the currency and the economy are a social phenomena, have no independent existence. That is, they are not natural phenomena. Let me give an example. The force of gravity is a natural phenomenon that exists independently if society, animals, or plants exist, while a 9.8 meters sex squared heart attack things anyway, that is a natural phenomenon and then responds to the natural law being studied by the science. Money and the economy exist because we have created them, and we can modify it in any way with the conventional law, which is the one that regulates the social phenomena, our behavior, is it? Then Professor Auriti said, okay, this is a social phenomenon, so I can and I have to study by the jurisprudence, not with economy, because the modern economy today wants to take a science, wants be a science, and there gives formulas, received that we must faithfully follow. It's work well? No, it does not work at all. So much so that there are examples in which some governments have made laws that have turned what were the economic rules. Then Professor Auriti first placed as basis on its reasoning a division in the currency between symbol and value. Because he say, okay, we have the piece of paper, we reason on the piece of paper only, that costs 30 cents. But what gives value to that piece of paper? Then we begin to divide. The piece of paper is the symbol, the material that used to display the value. It is the support on which we attach a value. But the value comes from what? The value comes precisely from the prediction time. Prediction time that the symbol is accepted by another person in exchange for a good. So it is relationships of phases in time. I now accept that money because I know that tomorrow I will give, for example, at a bar to have a coffee. There is nothing of material in this. It is a temporal provision, relationships between phases of time. That is an abstraction, is an abstracted value produced by the mind, and this cannot be in any way privatized. The material symbol could be privatized, but that represents a value. Then Auriti what he said, if the bank creates money out of nothing and lend it only, legally it acts as the owner of the money, because to lend it is the prerogative of the owner. Only the owner can lend. So if the bank is behaving in this way, means that it is the owner of the money, because there is no law and will not find anything that charge the ownership of the money to the bank. I already said then, let's see if the bank may be the owner of the money. No, it cannot be, because money is an abstraction of the mind. You cannot privatize. The bank creates only the symbol, but it is our acceptance of money that means that the symbol has a value. Then the ownership of the money must be attributed to the society. Just because the money is a social mean, exists because the society does not exist because it's the bank to give the value. Perhaps when the was gold, the bank could say the gold is mine, it is deposited in my bank vault, even if we have seen that because someone had deposited before. But now that the money is based on trust, the bank can no longer act as the owner of the value. Then back to the subject that the money measure measure a good. In fact, the money is a measure of wealth. Money is not a wealth. What in our society today wants us to believe is that we, having money, we are rich. In truth, it is not so. Because if you are on a desert island with a banker and he has a suitcase with $1 million, but it's you to know how to cultivate the land, he is dying for hunger. Because through wealth is your production, it is your job, your behaviors. Money it's the only measure, and this is a fundamental difference. And also the money paying a convention does not respect the law of economics. It is not written anywhere that your salary will be 1,000 and not 1,500 euros, because that is a convention. I'm measuring what is your wealth, and I have to decide how the money and salary works by law. Actually, the value of the money. Let me give an example. The governor of the German central bank at the time after the Weimar Republic. For those who doesn't know this, in the Weimar Republic after the First World War, inflation had depreciated the German mark until get it to the value of 1 on 42 billion compared to the dollar, or a dollar was worth 42 billion marks. So all economists were looking for a scientific solution. This governor came and made a law that say with a stroke of pen we cross out all zero, and now by the law the dollar is worth 1.42 mark. Because that is a social convention, I will fix it, and then I'll decide what is conventionally the right value of your wealth. In addition, the society must then decide, and then we should decide what is the true wealth today, because I can print the public money, the state money, without asking the bank to borrow and give it in return, for example, for a solar panel, because I want to make clean energy self-made. But I might as well give in exchange for weapons. What is the true wealth? Here the society will be called upon to decide very, very important things. So, summing up, the money today is private money, because it belongs to the banks, as it is created by the banking system, and there we have to give back. In reality, the money is not that. It is a social convention that measures the wealth, and that can be created and distributed for free through works. This does not mean that we have no more work. In fact, this makes you understand what is the nature and function of the money. Money is the unit of measure and the medium of exchange, which is the mean to exchange goods. But if we do not have the goods, if no one produce them, money has no value. The money, it tells by the bank itself, can be found in any website of the banks, as a value when it circulates. It increases value in the circulation, because the money in the circulation assumes the function of a medium of exchange, an instrument. If we do not have the means to exchange, money has no value. That is exactly zero. But today we believe that having 10 euros in your pocket means having a value of 10 euros. But the money has a value at the exact moment in which you use it for exchange. Otherwise, it has no value. This is the matter. But that is a conventional value. If we tomorrow we agree and decide that the water bottle is money and has a 10 euro value, tomorrow we exchange the bottle of water as money, because that is only the material symbol. Maybe I'm writing over 10 euros, so we all know that this is the conventional value. Sure, is a little awkward to put in your wallet. In fact, today we have the paper, But that piece of paper is the material symbol which is needed to display the value, nothing else. Today the bank creates of nothing, and that claims to have the ownership in lending it. Without this kind of economy, how would be the society? First of all, we would not need to grow exponentially, so probably all of us would work 10, 20 hours per week because of the new technology, machinery. We are 7 billion. That would be the working time. Salaries would be conventional, so you will print enough money for everyone to have a life more than decent. We should not grow exponentially and then consume the land. There will not have leaders to address what are the economic choice. Today we build incinerators with factory. Look at the example of Ilva in Taranto. Some worker said I have to work, but the other part of the city said, but you are poisoning. We no longer need to build that kind of economy, because now you are trying to make a profit on what is actually our ownership, and really will measure the wealth we produce. So it's up to us to decide what is the wealth. Then I told you the 1% of what you need to know. If you want more, you can buy my book, The Utopian Money, in visiting lulu.com. As well, you can buy the Auriti's book, The Utopian Country, on the same website, or you can find a lot of books available on internet. Other books I will translate. They will be available in the next few months. So I finish, and thank you very much for your attention.